Another, what you cooking, man?
All right, good morning, good morning.
Good
Welcome to
morning.
another episode of Iron Minds. You got Mr. Michael Lombard, myself, Trey is a little under the weather, and Pedro either sleeping in or just getting it done without us. Hopefully we'll hear from him soon. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. I'll tell you what, last night didn't sleep too great last night. I was having some I was having a tummy ache during the night. So I was a little disgruntled, but still managed to wake up and get here and get after it. I got to stick with the plan. I got to follow the plan.
Very good. The last week was, man, I'll tell you, I was just mentally not, it was a struggle last week. You know, I was tired from all the prep that I put into the speech. I think I'm at the point in training where it's definitely beginning to take a little bit of a toll. And I was just really struggling to get through it. I got some good runs in last week, but come Sunday when it came time to get on the bike, like I was dragging myself out. But feeling good today.
Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure it's about 8 weeks out at this point, and normally that's normally the time period where it starts to where you got to twist it in high gear. But it can start running up on you, and I think that it's really great to lean back and appreciate making sure you're getting good quality rest.
Yeah, that's always a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for I think most adults at this point too. I don't know a lot of people in our sort of general stage in life who walk around every day saying, "Man, I just got so much rest," or "I'm always so rested." Whether it be the mental fatigue of whatever's going on with them, or just well, the physical fitness ramp up of a ultra endurance event. Things can begin to wear on you.
Absolutely. But other than that, stuff that's new that's going on. I mean, I'll tell you, when it comes to the month of March, clocks going forward, there's a lot of new going on at this time of year. And I think people got to be ready to look forward. I've already been seeing it. People love the extra daylight. People love getting the extra hour you lose an hour of sleep, but there's a lot to look forward to going into the spring with a little bit more sunlight at night. Like it automatically, there's almost like an instant mood shift, which is like crazy to see how important and how valuable more daylight actually is and what that does for the brain. And it's like, how can you get to the point to where, and that's the thing, it shouldn't take the arbitrary clocks going forward because we're the only country in the world that does it. Really, I mean, there's other places that do it. I don't want to say we're the only one, but really one of the few that still does this whole clocks moving thing, which really has no purpose or rhyme or reason anymore. And there's almost this instantaneous mood shift when it happens. Like people do, like I've seen videos about it. I've seen reels on social media of people being like, "Man, you that instant dopamine rush when you get out of work and it's not dark out." And it's like I get it. There's definitely science that backs, why more daylight's better, and it being lighter at the end of the day is going to make you happier. But how can you? But I mean, that's the thing. It's every year. It's nothing new. Clock's going back, clock's going forward. It's nothing new. So again, how do you raise the status quo to where you're already riding high before and after the clocks go forward and back? And I think that's the question, and that's what people should be thinking about the most.
I will say that. I mean, a couple things. Now that I live in Florida, they talk about, oh, yay, it's going to stay later out, but they don't understand. You get it. You're from Connecticut. I'm from Massachusetts. Remember what daylight savings is like when you basically just had 5 or 6 months of brutal, awful, end of days type winter where it gets dark at like 4 o'clock and it's just gray the rest of the time. So that first time where it's like light out till 7 o'clock is an absolute game changer. But there's a lot of things that people do for fitness that are seasonal. Like there's softball teams and the other things that happen after work that maybe don't happen as much during the winter months. And so I could see why there would be more opportunity for them to do stuff. Guys like us, you and me, we're always training for something. So it's just another condition, right? How late the sun is out is no different than, hey, is it raining today?
That is true. Where people live matters. If you're in Minnesota and you're in these other places, it is a little bit tougher of a psyche. If you're in Minnesota and you see people in Texas who are already outside with their shirts off, going for runs in March, when you know that Minnesota, that's not going to happen for quite some time.
I remember at UMass, man, the first spring weekend was like the great thaw of all time. So, you've been traveling a bit, right? You have a couple conferences under your belt?
We've got Mid-America Truck Show next week. Stoked for that. Another really important thing that I wanted to mention this morning was something that I hope to be able to do more of is I'm going to Chicago this weekend for basically like a cup of coffee. Like I've got a red eye flight Friday night. It leaves at like 7-ish. So it's like I'm still working. I get into Chicago like before midnight, 11:30, and then I'll be there all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday. And this is the power of social media, and this is why I do what I do. It's for these moments because my Instagram has I've been blessed with some growth on Instagram recently, and there's no purpose behind that. There's no the only thing I've ever wanted to do with social media is just exactly what we're doing, and like with this show, is to just get out information in the zeitgeist so that there's this omnipresence of health and fitness that's in people's algorithms, and to get that going. And lo and behold, on Instagram, that's kind of, it's worked in many ways. I've gotten so many messages of people who said they've started running, they're asking me for advice. And other people, friends of mine, the question people always ask is, how are you going to monetize it? How are you going to make money off it? And it's like, I don't know, and I don't really care, because all I want to do is just connect with people and help them win, connect them with other people. Like I've already connected brokers with carriers, carriers with brokers, making new connections on Instagram, and that's all I want to do. And so this weekend I'm doing the same thing. There's a driver out of Chicago. Him and his brother own a company. He said he got into running because, similar to the Alex Bates story, Alex told us that we fired him up. So I went to Serbia to go race with him. And same thing, this gentleman, Marco, he said, he's like, he's like, I deep dive your Instagram. He's like, he started running. And so he's doing an 8-kilometer race on Sunday, his first road race. He got running. So I'm going up, and I'm going up there to support him and do it with him. And we'll make some content over it. So it's like, those are the opportunities. That's what I'm trying to do, is for more people, and that's industry wide. But I'd love for it to be more drivers who are signing up for races, and I just go out and do it with them, and we do stuff, and then it just freaking cascades from there. So I'm excited for a new opportunity to meet somebody who's, he said so many nice things, and he literally only got into running because he saw my Instagram. And it's like, that to me right there is probably some of the most powerful stuff I'll ever hear, something I've never predicted, especially when I started making content, years ago. And it's like, but this is the result. This is what you get for all the hate and for all the whatever, for all the crap people have talked throughout the years. It's like, this is the crux of what I am and what I do and who I am. So I'm excited for this weekend to go out and get up to Chicago and do that.
Dude, that is awesome. That's such a cool story to be able to tell and the thing to do. For a while, I was highly encouraging people to go get into Spartan races, and I would fly to places and do them, drag them out in the course, if you will. For a while, I'm going to need people to come to the Florida races, but we'll get back. We'll get back traveling. I'll tell you, I actually, I spoke at the InExpress conference last week, and one of the things I love to do when I speak anywhere is try to challenge the crowd to come out and do a Spartan race. And Spartan's been good to me, and they shared some free race codes with me to give to people for just that purpose. And usually what happens, 10 people raise their hand, one person follows up with you, nobody ever does it. Well, I've already had 3 people from the InExpress conference directly reach out. I had a conversation with one yesterday. He's probably going to do the race here in Tampa in May. So I'm not going to race it. It's 2 weeks before Ironman, and it's the Raymond James Stadium race. I just don't see how doing like 3 miles of stairs is going to be a really good tapering activity for me. So I figure I'm just going to be a fitness supporter that day. But I absolutely love that, and I love that as part of like the community. And you may remember when we were at BCS, God, who were we talking to? The other kid who did an Ironman, because he saw Alex doing the Ironman, was talking about it, so then he's now done a couple. I love how this thing is just, it's got the ripple effect that is exponential, and these are just the ones we know about. Most people don't tell you.
Yeah, most people you'll never even hear about it. It's just it happens and it doesn't, which is, credit to my good friend Matt Johnson. The same thing happens to him. Like sometimes people comment on there, but at this point, Matt Johnson has over 1 million followers on Instagram alone, like let alone YouTube, and how many people he bucks with. Because again, with him, I mean, and this is a guy who, he gets a lot of trash talked about him because, here he is running ultra marathons and stuff, and he's smoking cigarettes the whole time and doing all this stuff. But I mean, it's like he's just showing you that it doesn't take some sort of special, health freak, XYZ to do the things that he's doing. Like he ran across Texas twice. He's about to do a 250 miler from New York, from Times Square to DC for July 4th for the 250th birthday. Like, I mean, he smoked cigs the whole time, almost as a way to show like, hey, like I'm not crazy. Like you can, or I'm not like just some, he is kind of crazy, but it's like, he's not just some, again, he's not some polished, athlete guy who's like was born lucky. Like this is a dude who's been divorced. He shared his story, what he's done, how he moved to Austin, staying in the Airbnbs, and he's still doing this hard stuff because he knows how much movement and community impacts his mental health and his life. And so that's why he does what he does. And it's once that clicks for people, once they realize, because again, when you are living your life pretending to be somebody you're not for people, whether that's at work or friendships, you're going to wind up with the most surface level. You're in relationships with people. If you're not being yourself, who you want to be with other people, then the friends you have aren't your real friends, because you're pretending to be somebody, and so they either like or dislike that person you're pretending to be, and you're going to stay with the wrong community. You're going to stay in this revolving door. But once you stop pretending and you start doing the things you actually want to do, and you start taking care of yourself, and you start doing some things that you normally aren't doing, you're trying to get healthier, trying to do XYZ, you start becoming who you truly want to be. Long-standing relationships may fade away, but you're going to build the better ones with better people over time. Same as to be said in fitness, the same as within this industry. If you are pretending, if you're a broker or carrier, you're pretending to be something you're not, you're going to end up on the receiving end of some blowback from being fraudulent.
If I could maybe even change that one word, not pretending, but trying to be someone you're not, trying to fit into that square peg, trying to fit into that round hole, and trying to be that person that you think you're supposed to be. I chased that identity crisis for a very long time. I think it was a contributor as to why I got drunk. I made other people my higher power. My career, my success wasn't about money or goals. It was about validation from others. And it is exhausting and stressful. Back in the day when I was at Blue Grace, we used to use this personality assessment when we'd hire people. And one of the things that would show you was what was called your energy units. And it doesn't mean how much energy you have. It had to do with like how long you can actually act kind of outside of who you are and what that takes from you. So it showed me that like I could see that when I was trying to be this other person, it was exhausting. You're stressed all the time. You have this conflict all the time because you know that you're not living for yourself. And, for me, one of the things when we talk about community, the best way to be part of a community is to give to the community and to help build up the community by giving of your best self, your true self, and not just trying to be the person who you think other people want you to be.
Exactly. We're talking, yeah, energy is an important thing. I mean, energy, like and everybody knows this, there's certain people, when they walk into the room, they take the energy out. There's people who, what's up? Good morning.
What's up?
Got a nice YouTuber jumping in the live stream. Let's go. We're just riffing this morning, man. We do this every Tuesday, 6:30 a.m. Central Time. So appreciate anybody who's jumping in to check it out. But it takes so much effort to try and be something you're not. Like, and that's that's why job interviews are stressful. That's why jobs are so stressful in the first place. And what I'm hoping is, as time goes on, and at least this seems to be the general mood, especially with the rise of AI, is like taking down there's like more people just freaking authenticity maxing, realizing that like if you're going for some job or if you're trying to be something, yeah, trying to be something that you're not is freaking exhausting. And it's just, does an employer want that? Like that's the thing with the job field and business wise. Like if you're an employer, you really want some guy just being a big phony for an interview and LARPing as something as they're not, or do you want that person for who they are? Like, it's again, like resumes mean nothing. You can have the best resume in the world, but if you are somebody who walks into the room and you're an energy taker and you are not supportive, you're not you're not somebody with the philosophy who's trying to help the team win, you're really just looking out for yourself or XYZ, it's like he can have the best resume in the world, but it's like, is that what you want for your team? I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and if you're quote unquote smartest guy is also the one who's taking people's energy away and makes people nervous or isn't encouraging them, at what point is his intelligence and his know-how really going to help carry you to the next level? And the same thing goes for relationships that you're in with people. You might have known somebody for 20 years, but if it's just rinse and repeat, victim mindset, doom and gloom, at what point do you realize you are always going to be at that person's level if you're not trying to move up and move on without them?
Yeah, you just said the interesting word too, because I was already thinking about it, but victims will always find validation among other victims. You really got to look at the circle you're keeping. Because if you're standing around the water cooler and there's 6 people sitting around complaining about their lives, you are not the voice of reason. You are the 6th person standing around complaining about your life. You can try to change the conversation, but chances are you need to change the scenery. And I do remember that. I remember when I felt like such a victim. I did. I wanted this sort of validation. And so I wanted to be around people who would validate me. And if they didn't, I would sort of resent that person or be louder, if you will. It wasn't about substance and it wasn't about other people. And that's one of the things I find, people knock social media all the time. And I think you and I are aligned on this, that there is a tremendous amount of value in social media. When people are complaining about, oh, it's so negative in politics and this, I'm like, change your feed, man. Like, I do not receive information on social media. I go get information on social media. And that's why my own content, you mentioned about people reaching out. I've been making a weekly video with my Ironman training with POTS and diabetes, mostly because I couldn't find much information about it. Other people who have done it like that at all. And so I know I'm not the first, but I'm definitely not going to be the last. And so 11 weeks later, I've had like 2 different people actually, one on YouTube, one on TikTok, both say, hey, I have POTS and I'm looking into getting into endurance events. And, one person was like, I'm a runner and a cyclist. Now I want to learn how to swim. And so there's a lot of positive community out there if you're willing to put in the work to build it.
Without a doubt. I feel like YouTube in the social media world is definitely the most, it's the most random. Like, I feel like that's what shows up in search feeds. Like, because if somebody is like, if you're somebody with POTS, or if you're somebody with a certain any sort of medical issue, like if you're Googling stuff, YouTube videos are going to show up in that Google search. Like if you, or in same thing if you're using, because that's what people are using ChatGPT and AI for. I think that's why YouTube is still king on just like information from random people, because I think like Instagram, TikTok and stuff, you got to really, those influencers kind of, I don't want to say they don't naturally gatekeep it, but if somebody with a prominent following isn't talking about it, it's hard to find that info. But on YouTube, if somebody was to Google, and I'll probably do this when we have off the call, like if they Google just or a search on YouTube in general, if they're using YouTube as a search engine, Ironman POTS syndrome, I guarantee you're going to be on that front page. That's easy for people to find, which is why I always support people making content and whatever it is. And again, everybody's not going to be a content creator, content guy because of editing and what have you, but people don't even want that stuff anymore. Like, yeah, sometimes people like the editing and the good features and the cuts and have it be easily digestible and stuff. But if you're really looking for the people you want to find you, and this is for people who are, maybe even work as coaches or work as a broker or carrier, like if you're making content for people to find you, it's got to be just content worth finding. It doesn't need to have, if people just want to hear you out. They don't need to see crazy editing and all this software and gimmicks, vanity speak. They just want a guy who's just going to lay it out for them, which is why I give a shout out to a guy like Chris Polk from Blue Ribbon Logistics, who will be at Mid-America Truck Show. He's been the past few years. His TikTok is like just straight informational. He just talks to the camera about fuel, about numbers, and he's got probably one of the best like business-oriented TikTok channels. There's nothing fancy about his editing or nothing. You want a little bit more, he's got a podcast that he does, but nothing's fancy about it. And I think we owe it to whatever industry we're in or wherever we're at to add that little piece of the pie into the mix.
Funny, I wouldn't call myself a creator, but yet that's what I do. So I guess you have to. And there is again, the POTS video I make, they're anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes long. And so I don't do much editing on those at all. I just splice them together. But when I do want to make one of the shorts from it, I'll let TikTok do its thing. And it is fun to get a little bit of flash, but mostly it's just sort of like covering up my unprofessional edits. Some transitions and some flash will usually, help cover up those things. But yeah, that's and it's not just about the content, right? It's like you're going to meet this person. It's the people that you build in the community around it. One of the coolest things that ever happened to me was after I published my first book in 2021. Later that year, this guy reached out to me from Texas, actually. No, Oklahoma, sorry, just kidding. And he had found my book. Just randomly found it, which is pretty hard to do. And randomly found it, got interested in the Spartan race. I actually flew out to Dallas, so we did our first race, met him in Texas and did his first race with him. And I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world, because he got into Spartan because he found my book. And then I ended up going to meet him and doing it with him. And like, that was one of the most rewarding things in the world. Because it's like...
You can't put a price tag on that. Like that's it.
No.
You can't box that up and sell it. And I think that's another thing people need to realize is, and it's really omnipresent here in the U.S. is this idea of always having to monetize everything and make money and having side hustles and grinding and all that. It's like that's not the higher purpose that we're talking about. If you're doing it, if you're making content, like if you're purely money motivated, just like pretending to be something you're not, if all your actions are are being done where all you're looking for in return is money, then all you're going to get is surface level money type things. Like you might get a guy, if you're just trying to monetize that kind of experience that you're talking about, where money is all you care about, you might get a few thank yous, but you're not going to get a deep life changing kind of life changing for the both of you type action from somebody. And that's why just being money motivated on everything doesn't do anything. It doesn't lead you anywhere. It just leaves you always wanting to chase the next thing, the next high, the next dollar amount, as opposed to chasing good relationships with people, which in the end will bless you sevenfold if that's your philosophy. That's just what I think. I'm just a guy.
It goes back to that validation too, because back when I made a lot of money and had a lot of money, I did feel like I was someone different. And I don't mean I felt better. I felt different than who I am. And I think it's I think it was my relationship with money and how I allowed that to be a validator. So I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, even though I was successful by somebody else's measure. And, it was almost like an excuse. I was like, well, I'm successful in my career, so it doesn't really matter about other things. I don't know. I've just made that one up, just spitballing a little bit. I definitely think that I put a lot more emphasis on it for a lot of the wrong reasons. And I will tell you this, if you spend money on stuff and you ever want to know if you're wasting money, try to resell something you own, especially these days. Go ahead and take that thing that you think is really valuable, put it on Marketplace, and see if people want to offer you 20% of what you think it's worth. All that money that accumulates, that sits in our garages and sits in our closets, it's not worth pennies on the dollar for what we paid for it. And sometimes we put so much more emphasis on getting those things. I will tell you one thing though. There are two things I will never, ever, ever regret spending money on. Traveling and racing. Both of those give me experiences that I don't care if I have to live the rest of my life in a cardboard box. I would not give them back.
Mainly because those are experiences. Yeah, I was kind of I was almost going to post something on my Instagram story about that yesterday. Like, yeah, like what we look back on the most and what we appreciate is the times are the experiences we've had with others. Like my best days are Saturdays, not because of where what I'm doing, not because of like going someplace or having a car or going on a boat or anything. Like my best Saturday, most fulfilling, is when I go for that 10-mile run with my group and we go back and eat breakfast and have coffee. Like running and getting coffee are some of the best life experiences I have with people I know. Like that's what I look forward to the most. That's where I feel the most full. Not going to crazy, staying in big hotels and getting a fancy dinner, like all that sort of filler stuff, like just being with that, like going and doing some intentionally hard things and then getting a coffee after are the best experiences of my life. They're the most fulfilling. I leave the most fulfilled. I leave filled with purpose, belonging, all that sort of stuff because of community and what I'm doing, as opposed to just, yeah, get in a car, doing whatever people are chasing for the nice things. Like these simplest things we realize, and I think people realize this as they get older. And we used to say it all the time, and like I say this about the Marines, like how we were sometimes we were happier when we were broke. Like the things just seemed so much more free. Like the less responsibilities you have is like the most liberating, and anything you can do that can relieve you of because again, it's like, yeah, you're a millionaire. You've got this boat. That boat's a responsibility at the end of the day. Like, and then it's just this depreciating asset. Does it end up actually serving you? Maybe, depending on where you're at. But again, like the less responsible, the more simple it is. Like people always talk about simple times, the good old days. It's all that is the, if you want simpler times and you enjoyed the good old days, then do what you did and think the way you thought back then that made you happier. You don't, we're not reinventing the wheel. You don't have to do any of these crazy stuff that people have forced upon us.
I like that. Keep it simple. Wherever you are, just move today. It's the name of the show today. And I think that's a great action. Just keep it simple. So dial
Yeah.
up on time anyway. What's your big workout this week gonna be?
Let's see, because I've got to go. I've got to find a place to squeeze in. I know I've got to do 15 miles running at some point. We'll see when I do that. Maybe it'll be Thursday or Friday, wicked early. We'll see. We'll see how I punch that out because I'll be gone this weekend. So I'll figure it out. But I'm not beating myself up too much over it.
Good. Yeah, I got to do another 15 this weekend, and I got to get a long ride on the bike, 65, 70. But I am looking forward to it.
Let's go. And for anybody else who's tuning out there live, appreciate you jumping into Iron Minds. As iron sharpen iron, as one man sharpens another. We've got a Slack group. We've got a community. Nick and I are here for anybody who needs it. But other than that, let's crush the rest of our week and our Tuesday, baby.
Let's go. Let's get it. See you on the other side.